Welcome back to our Peace Through Strength podcast, brought to you by the American Security Council Foundation. I'm your host, Joy Votrobek, back with our senior analyst, Laurence Sanford.
Nice to be here,
Welcome
Joy.
back, Larry.
Thank you.
And today we're going to discuss the Hamas-Israeli war, the ongoing Hamas-Israeli war, and we'll talk about Larry's article titled Ceasefire. You can find Larry's full article at www.ascf.us. And while you're on our website, please consider becoming a member of the American Security Council Foundation for just $100 a year. That's a little less than $10 a month. It includes a full paid subscription to Substack as well as our bi-weekly newsletter. So, Larry, there's been a lot going on in the Middle East, and even more so since the last time we spoke on ceasefire.
Yes.
Most people are familiar with the bomb that Israel dropped on the Iranian embassy in Damascus, Syria. That was April 1st. We are now almost at the end of April, and there was back and forth fire between Israel and Iran. Iran sent quite a bit of drones and missiles into Israel, and all were successfully intercepted, 99% they said. That's with the mostly Israeli, but some American and Western allied help.
I would note that the Allied help has been very limited.
It has been. I was thinking that too.
I haven't seen much coverage of
much.
what it really consisted of. So, whatever that means.
Hezbollah is ramping up their missiles from Lebanon into northern Israel.
Yes.
And the Houthis are now back to continuing their menace in the Red Sea.
Yep. We just shot down a few of them, and the things that we're shooting down cost like $10,000. And we're shooting them down with missiles that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars.
In fact, that's a good note because the amount of money we spent in helping Israel shoot down all the drones and missiles
The
was
U.S.
quite a bit.
Navy is facing $1 billion shortfall from the cost of all these missiles they've been firing in the Red Sea. $1 billion. Shooting down $10,000 drones.
And we're diverting here a little bit, but why should that be all on the U.S.? Because this is really an international crisis in the Red Sea.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Well, as Israel's continuing airstrikes in Gaza, including the southern town of Rafah. So, Larry, digging into it, in your paper, Ceasefire, do you believe a ceasefire is possible between Israel and Hamas if Hamas were to release the hostages?
I don't think Hamas is going to release the hostages. And they cannot stop fighting against the concept of Israel. Hamas is a proxy of Iran, and the mantra for Iran is death to America, death to Israel. So as long as Hamas exists, at least in fighting form, I'm not so sure that Israel or anyone can ever really kill the concept of Hamas. But Israel can wipe out the military aspect because Hamas is still shooting missiles. And so the question is, when they go into Rafah and they take out the military, now what?
Well, I've heard they're back in northern Gaza as well, taking out more Hamas.
Yeah, I know.
So it's kind of been continuing, and we don't know how deep the tunnels are, how deep Hamas is embedded in these tunnels.
I know. It's just not ongoing. I don't see an easy end to this thing at all.
No, I would agree with you there. And I guess, sadly, no, they probably won't release the hostages. It's a possibility it could come to some negotiations, but more than likely, as you're saying, Hamas is a proxy of Iran, and we know Iran's now already come directly against Israel. We know Hezbollah is coming against Israel, and Iran doesn't want Israel there. So,
well, neither does Islam. It's right in the Quran, and the ideology of Islam is that once a land is ruled by Muslims, no one can take it back. And at one time, where Israel is now was ruled by Muslims, though I would note 2,000 years ago it was ruled by Israelis, but that's another subject.
And other empires in between. So.
Yes, Roman or whatever, a whole bunch of them. So I don't see any easy fix to this. It's just a long war that's going to continue. And again, it goes back to Islam. I mean, Islam has been attacking the infidels for 1,400 years. Still going on. And we're an infidel, you were an infidel, I'm an infidel. They come after the Jews, and then they come after us next.
And Islam started in what is now Saudi Arabia.
Yes.
And however, Saudi Arabia was starting some negotiation talks with Israel prior to this Hamas-Israeli war break.
Joy, remember the old saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And the enemy of Saudi Arabia is Iran. They're both Muslim countries, different sects. Iran is Shia, Saudi Arabia is Sunni. And so they have that common threat, and once in a while they get together. But the enemy of Saudi Arabia is Iran because they want to take down the House of Saud, who they say plays with the West, and they want to just take them down, and the Saudis don't want to be taken down by the Iranians. And the Iranians have a proud history of conquering the Middle East. And so.
Well, that's good. You skipped to I'm going to skip over this and go to my third question. Is basically we've discussed a two-state solution in the past.
Yes.
But it seems, especially now as things have ramped up, that is that even possible, especially since Iran does not want Israel's state?
Yeah, I don't know why the American government and many leading people believe that this two-state solution is the solution. All it would be is a small little semi-state that would be a strategic threat to the existence of Israel. I mean, Arafat was offered a solution, two-state solution, and he said no, primarily for the reason that the two-state solution meant that one of the states was Israel, and Israel shouldn't exist from from river to the sea. So
with that mindset, is there really any possibility for us to see?
No. So you just keep on going, and hope there's a change within the culture of Islam, to be honest with you. That's the only hope I can see.
I think you're right, absolutely.
I mean, 400 or 500 years ago, Christians were killing each other whether you're Protestant or Catholic. And that I think we've come a long way in that.
Yes.
Maybe Northern Ireland was, but generally speaking, Christianity is not killing itself among itself.
So, if the hostages are not released, we'll go back to visit this. Do you believe Israel will go ahead and eliminate as much of Hamas as possible out of Gaza?
Yeah, I do.
I think so too.
Yeah. They have no choice. Hamas is trying to kill Israelis, to put them out of existence. So what are they going to do? They're not going to allow them to exist as a threat.
Right. And then when we get to that point, and as we were just discussing, so now we still have the Palestinian Authority.
Right.
In the West Bank.
Yep.
What role do you see them playing in after the elimination of Hamas in Gaza?
I have no idea. Israel has to stay strong. The United States has to stay strong because we're being attacked on all sides. We're being attacked by Islam. We're being attacked by Marxism. We're being attacked by progressives. We have to stay strong. Israel has to stay strong, and they're not going to exist at all. As you know, it's the size of New Jersey with 10 million people. It's a very small country. A couple of nuclear bombs would pretty well take care of it.
That is true. And they have done a very good job with the Iron Dome and our allies.
Yeah, but
how long does that hold up?
And the Iranians, I think they shot 200 to 300 missiles and drones to Israel, and they were all shot down with maybe one or two exceptions. I think a couple landed on an air base in southern Israel.
Yes, yes.
But what if they had thrown 400 or 500? Would they have stopped them all? Probably not.
That's yet to be seen, I guess.
And of course, that leads me to the argument of why I say we should never build another U.S. aircraft carrier, because all the missiles out there will take them up. But we won't go down that road either.
We won't go down the aircraft carrier road at the moment. But we will go, because you were on the path of what I was going to ask, peace through strength solutions.
Yes.
In your action plan on your paper, you had stated that we need to develop a winning strategy.
Yes.
So what does that winning strategy look like for Israel when it comes to America and Israel relations?
I'd say we maintain the relationship to make sure that Israel stays strong in technology and military and alliances. I mean, a few years ago, they were starting to make deals with other Arab countries because of the enemy is my enemy type of thing. And things change, people change, leadership changes, and I say you have to stay strong in order to survive. And if you don't stay strong, you're gone. So I would have to say the strategy as far as Israel is concerned is to support them as long as we can, as long as they still do what they're doing, namely being the only democrat elected government in the Middle East. And they, there's an old argument. How do you get three sides of an argument? You have two Jews together. I mean, two Jews together, you have three sides of the argument. I mean, that's a classic joke in Israel. And it's true. They will fight about everything and argue, and that's probably why they're so successful, because they see this.
Well, that's a good point, because there's arguments within their own cabinet there. So, but so with regards to the U.S., do you believe that the U.S. should stop pressuring Israel so much on how to handle the Hamas situation in Gaza?
Well, I think we should pressure them to tell them to go in there and get it over with.
I think that's what they want to do. That's why I'm saying, do you think we should stop?
Biden talks about supporting Israel, then he tells them, no, we're going to support the Gazans. We're worried about civilians. If they were so worried about civilians, Hamas never would have started the attack. And I don't know why we're so worried about the Gazans, to be honest with you. They hate Americans. I wouldn't send a nickel to Gaza.
Well, good. That leads into my next thing is on your paper you had terminate U.S. funding of the UNRWA.
Yep.
And I agree. We have already seen that some of the Palestinian terrorists were receiving that funding.
Yep.
And on that note, I would also suggest or ask you, what about transparency from dollars that are sent to American universities from countries like Qatar who are harboring Hamas?
Qatar is a very smart country. They're playing Americans for suckers. They're sending in billions of dollars to the university to support Palestinian causes, Islamic causes. And we're seeing the fruits in our streets and campuses today, where we have these students out there in support of Hamas. So they're in support of people who rape, murder, torture people. So American kids think they're great. I think it's just a culmination of 50 or 60 years of Marxism in the universities getting stronger and stronger, fusing with the Islamic countries like Qatar. Turkey's another one that sends a lot of money to and George Soros, who the heck knows what he is, other than he's anti-American, sending money to universities to preach causes to bring down America's civilization. So they're fusing together, and we see it in the streets and the universities today. It's coming to a head, and we have all these foreign students on visas here. I say if they're arrested in any of these riots and protests, the first thing I do is I'd yank the visa and send them home. You got to get tough. You can't let this thing go on. And so getting back to your original question about the funding, my feeling is we shouldn't send money to any organization that's not with us. Why? You can't buy love.
No.
You're not going to buy love from the Gazans. You're not going to buy love from these organizations out there that hate us. So reciprocity is a big tool that we should do as far as what should America do. And if you're with us, well, you're our friend. If you're not with us, so be it. Go your separate ways. We're not going to see any money or favors from us. And the universities have basically prostituted themselves to the foreign influence. I mean, Georgetown has an Islamic center funded by I think it was the Saudis. And
yes, they do send funds.
And Qatar is sending all sorts of money. The University of Pennsylvania is prostituting themselves for the Chinese and the Penn, all that stuff. So these universities are selling their soul for money. And we have hundreds of thousands of Chinese students here in America. And the only reason they're here is they pay cash. Why are we having these people come here to steal our technology? I kick them all out. Reciprocity.
Well, I agree with them not wanting to steal our technology. But what about those that are coming because they truly want a better education here and a better life here?
Good point. I don't have an answer.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Larry. I appreciate your article and your points.
Yeah.
And thank you to our listeners. Please subscribe, share, and comment on our YouTube and Rumble channels on Ceasefire, as well as our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And again, you can read Larry's full article on Ceasefire at www.ascf.us. Consider becoming a member of the ASCF. And join us again next time as we bring you Peace Through Strength podcast.